Hello YouTube! Thanks for tuning in. This is Jimmy of Jimmy's Jig Rig Jungle Gym. And today I'm going to start the actual content for my series on me and my overhaul to 3.5 Pathfinder, what my group currently uses. And going into it, it's extensive changes. It changes a lot of the core numbers behind it. I have today a spreadsheet to share, backing that up and showing why these refixes, these balances, this balance, changes it in a way that it's a more balanced game, and all the classes are going to be able to contribute more equally, and it works out better. So, to start, the first justification, I'm going to start with a justification regarding power attack. So, in my system, there's no power attack in any way, shape, or form. And right now I'm going to explain my biggest problem with power attack. At level 1, power attack, two-handed weapon, fighter, 18 strength, all common things. No problem. And here's how it works out. You get 7 damage from your two-handed greatsword. Also, 1.5 times your 4 strength mod, so that's 6, 13 right there. On top of that, the power attack itself adds 3 damage, 1.5 times 2. So adding on top of that 13 damage, you're at 16. 95% of 16 is 15.2. So right there, the average damage is 15.2. And that's a very, very large number. If you look at level 1 hit points for even a full base attack bonus character, your typical fighter, you're looking at a D10, 5.5, plus a con mod, let's say 2, maybe 3. Let's say 3. 8 in favorite class 1. So that's, you're looking at 9. Like right there, right around 9. 5.5 plus 3, 8.5 plus 1. Okay, so we'll round up to 10. But still, that's 5 damage over the minimum, the average hit points for a full BAB character. And so it's basically, you walk up, one shot, fairly high chance to hit, and you're going down. You don't even need a power attack against level 1 characters to kill them. You can, lose that 5% chance because 4 damage is still in at 4 over what the average character can take. Now, I understand this isn't that big of a deal for PCs to do this much damage because level 1, but your standard monster is going to be able to do this. He's going to be able to have a two-handed weapon. He's going to be able to walk up to a PC and just one-shot them. And if he's a couple higher levels higher than them, he's going to, and he has that base attack bonus, it's going to be that much easier for him to actually hit the player. And I think that's just not fun. Just one-shot. Now, the biggest problem is not that it's one-shot. If everybody one-shot everybody, it would be a fair, high-stakes, proved initiative, would be a very important kind of game. But if you take a look at other forms of doing combat damage, they don't stack up at all. So at level 1, you got that 15.2 average damage. Now, let's say you want to make a dwarf crossbowman. And, in history, crossbows were very effective weapons. They do more damage than modern firearms do. They're rough. Sure, they have a harsh reload time, but core, you don't get to add your 1.5 dex mod or strength mod, not even 1.5 strength mod. So you're looking at, say the heavy crossbow, it's the first shot. We won't even count that you can't even do it every turn because of the reload speed. 1d10 plus, that's 5.5, and there's deadly aim, which adds 2, and there's it. So that's like 7.5. That's 7.5 times 95%. And you're looking at roughly 7 damage, if you round 7 damage, versus that 16 or 15 after the 95%. So 7 damage, and that's one crossbow shot as opposed to that. So you just can't make. Now there is viable ranged combat. There's the archery tree, which does comparable damage. If you get rapid shot, you need precise shot. You need a fairly expansive feat tree. But if you're a ranger, you're on top of that. You have rapid shot, so you're getting two 1d8 arrows, 4.5 times 2, 9. You can get deadly aim on that, so each of those does 2 damage, if I'm not mistaken, for an attack penalty. So you're rolling right around there where the two-handed weapon Barbarian was. The downside of that is you don't get to add dex to damage, but you get a lot of range out of it, so that's fair. So, I mean, looking at combat, you can have your two-handed weapon fighter character, Barbarian Ranger, but, you know, he goes in there and he fights hand-to-hand. You can have your longbowman, compound longbowman, with rapid archery. And you can also have two-weapon fighting. I mean, the math works similarly to rapid shot. So those are really the 3 only effective ways to fight. Now, another thing is shields. I mean, that's another theme. In historical times, shields were wonderful. I mean, if you had a choice between an offhand weapon or a shield, you went with the shield. It blocked arrows. It was a great thing to have. They were awesome. So, why in Pathfinder they're just not a viable option unless you two-handed fight with light shields. There might be feats to let you do it with large shields too, or if you take a small weapon and a light shield. But to use them defensively, how they were used in historic times, it just doesn't work. I mean, you're sacrificing, you're doing 1d8, maybe 1d10 if you have your bastard sword. 1d10 damage plus 1 times your strength mod. It's roughly 75% of the damage, roughly, if you do the math of that. If you think about it, you're getting you're getting 100 rather than 150% of your strength mod damage rolls, and you're getting a 1d8 or 1d10 versus that 2d6. So it's roughly 80% the damage if you work that out. But shields only give a +2 AC, which translates to a 10% chance to dodge. I mean, so that's pretty, the way the math works out, you could say that it just reduces the damage by 10%. You can roughly say that it works. So, I mean, that's a simple fix for the shields. I mean, just a spoiler alert, all I did for the shield feat, and we're going to get into that, I fixed this by making a feat that makes viable combat and all the themes work. But the shield feat, the shielded fighter, whatever you want to call it, just to make shields add 2 more AC if you're not doing anything with that shield besides blocking. And that also makes it work so you can two-handed weapon fighting with the shield, but you just lose that 2 AC. So that's, I mean, so right there, you got shield, sword and board, not where, you know, not up to par with two-handed fighting, rapid shot, and two-weapon fighting, or two-handed fighting. I might have messed that up, but yeah, it's not on par. Precision archery, you know, a single deadly crossbow is not up to par. And another thing that was really glossed over, and I could kind of see, but I don't think it's justifiable to leave it out, so I covered it. Swashbuckling, yeah, the pirates, how they have 1 rapier and they dodge and parry, and that I mean, you're looking at, again, they have a free hand to do stuff with, but again, you're only at around 75% of the damage of a two-handed weapon, which you could argue it's a smaller weapon, you can get less, but there should be bonuses to bring that up there. You're a lot more agile, and there's weapons are deadly. I mean, a rapier to the chest, you're going to feel it. I mean, you know, and it's a lot faster than a two-handed sword as well. So it's really about half of the common themes are just not playable, not viable, and I don't think that's cool. So I had to change the numbers, had to change hit points to accommodate a system where it made all forms of melee combat or melee range, non-magic fighting viable against each other when compared. And I mean, doing the math, straight up power attack, that's 16 damage right there. Take away power attack, that's still 13 damage, which is more than your average full BAB character has at level 1. Which just, and then worst part is higher levels, it kind of scales down, And then wizards have to just do non-hit point damage things to just disable monsters and enemies. And it's just more effective than actually dealing combat damage. And they get completely overshadowed. So levels 1 through 5, 1 through 7, fighters and barbarians are killing it. I mean, they're one-shotting things. Rangers are at level 4 plus once they get all of their feats down. I mean, they're just, you know, one full-round attack action. And that's it. I mean, the enemies are blown away, but then level 7 hits, hit point damage just starts to not be a viable method to deal with the threats. And then it goes over to the wizard, who just has the utility spell that, you know, just finishes it. Now, with the exception of sleep, your level 1 wizard has sleep. And that's, I mean, it's just game over for the enemy. If you cast that on him, it's save or die at level 1. And that's right up there with the barbarian. So you can't even complain. I guess the barbarian has to be next to you. But with the charge power attack, I mean, he even gets a bonus to hit at that point. It's not that big of a deal. All right, so that being said, that's the justification why I had to either bring the two-handed damage down, which I couldn't find a sensible way to do that. I thought it was a lot easier to increase base hit points and make a non-completely linear hit point scaling. Because nothing else scales besides spell damage. They don't scale, nothing scales in a linear fashion. Why should hit points scale in a linear fashion? I guess it's not totally linear because you're getting constitution modifier increases, which multiplies. But the base dice are linear. And that doesn't make much sense to me when very few things in the game scale in a linear fashion. It's nice. It's easy for the characters to roll. Oh, I roll a d10 again every level. That's convenient, but again, it doesn't make for a game where things are doing damage to each other in a viable, fair, balanced way. Easy to build characters, easy to level up, but not, when you look at the base math, it just doesn't pan out to make an interesting thematic battle simulation. So that's 11 minutes right here of justification for why I'm doing what I'm doing. So without further ado, I'm going to start explaining actually how the hit points work in my system. Okay, and I am putting up a spreadsheet for you now. And this will show a number of things, including the first thing at the top is the hit points by class type. Now, rather than break it down any other way, I mean, for each class, it's either D8, D6, or D10. Or if you have barbarians, D12. But I don't really do that because, well, I'll explain that later in the class pages. But barbarians just get fighter hit points. They're not better than fighters. Are already not as good as barbarians at doing what fighters do, so it's not important. So we have the 4d6, 2d6 plus 2d8, and 48, which pans out to 14, 16, and 18 for full 3/4 base attack bonus classes and 1/2 base attack bonus characters. Now that's at level 1, so we're rolling at minimum 14 base hit points. Minimum 15 hit points. Because next line is you get 1 hit point at level 1 and every level following level 1. I guess there's an error in my spreadsheet. But level 1 and every level following that, you get 1 bonus hit point. And that's just, you just get a hit point, like favored class, but no more favored class. I mean, you could give the player favored class bonuses. They don't add that much. And the hit point, in my opinion. But that's beyond the scope of this video. So, and then the next line, you see magic item loot per level. Now, I'm going to explain a lot more detail in the magic item video. But basically, you don't find, I think it's pretty boring to find belts of +4 constitution lying around in loot. And depending on that, or going to a city to pick that up, just let it be a part of the class. And so what I do is characters get a gold value per level allotment to spend on their stat increases. And I'm moving over on the chart. I'm going to show you this one where it shows, 1 hit point per level, and that works backwards. Like if they're level 3 and they pick this up, they spend 2,000 of their gold allotment to pick up 1 per level. That goes backwards, so they get 3 hit points, 1 for every level. So it's 2,000 gold piece equivalent, 8,000, so on for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 respectively per level hit points. So that is how you're going to increase your hit points. Their next line, con is gone. Again, so the magic item loot per level, pretty much in my game, rather than give the characters boring stat increase item or access to boring stat increase item, just take the gold value in the player's guide or game master's guide, I don't even know which one it is, divide it by 2, and save the other half for loot that they're actually going to find, cool magical items, make them unique, and just no more boring ones. Just no boring magic items with boring +4 stat increases. They spend that gold to get those boring stat increases. And the 2,000, 8,000, 1,600, that's based off the formula for ability score mods. It's half of the con mod because you're not getting the other benefits of having con because it's just the hit points. Now, Constitution is gone. And you might say, well, that's weird. I mean, that's important. You need that. It's one of the 6 base stats. And I'm going to challenge that. Constitution is not good for encouraging diverse, interesting characters. It's just not. And let me explain why. Hit points are essential. You can't run a character that doesn't have decent hit points. You can, but he's not going to make it. There's no way. I mean, you could say, well, I'm a wizard. I'm standing in the back. The dragon has a line attack. Archers have arrows. Fighters can walk around other fighters. They're going to go for the flimsy casters. They just can't not have hit points. I personally saw this because I'm like, well, I had a friend who loved his elven scholar archer character. He's like, well, Jim, I'm having a hard time playing him because the last time I played a character like that, he did fine. He was doing the right things. He was hanging back. He just got hit once, and he died. I'm like, well, yeah, and I'm like, well, why didn't he have Constitution? That's not that expensive. He's like, because I didn't want him to. I wanted a frail elf. I wanted to play a frail elf character. I'm like, huh. You can't play a frail elven character, or any frail character at all. You can't. Because just the way the game works, he's going to get stuck full of arrows if your monsters are intelligent. If you give them the, justice they have with that 14 int score, that one shoots lightning bolts and isn't armored. I'm going to stick him full of arrows. If you play it right, if you play it smart, if it makes sense, he's going to get killed. I mean, there's no way about it. And having a con in the game with hit points, it just prevents characters from doing that. Well, you can say, okay, well, it's an arbitrary thing. You just take it and you don't imagine it affecting your character's look or appearance. But that's worse than what I'm doing. I mean, there's no difference between having the conster and not paying attention to it, just not having it. I mean, if you're going to have it and not use it thematically or to explain your character, it shouldn't be there. It's a role-playing game. So it's too important, and a lot of characters shouldn't have it. And another sensible reason why Constitution isn't that important is reality is Constitution is not health or beefiness for hit points. Let's face it. I mean, I could be the most healthy person in the world. The most healthy, the paragon of health, 20 Constitution. I'm part half, I'm a dwarf. I'm the healthiest dwarf that ever lived at level 1. I have 20 Constitution score. Is a crossbow bolt to my chest gonna make a difference? Is me getting burned alive, like with scorching fire from a dragon's? It's not gonna make that much of a difference how healthy I am. So a lot of it's luck. I mean, it's in the game. It's not this is your hit points. This is how many hammer blows to the head. Hit points are all explained by luck, also tenacity, but luck is one of the things factored in there. And you can't make a fun thematic character that doesn't have a lot of hit points. You just can't, because he's gonna get hit, and if he's just dying, and I'm like, at level 7, I mean, with that constitution barrier being small and such, I mean, he's not just going to die, get put under, and start having to roll for stabilization or try to stabilize. I mean, he's just going to be put under his con score just from average damage from a normal attack from a decent level monster or creature or opponent. It's just going to happen. And that kind of character can't be played. Unless it's a wizard with improved initiative that is invisible all the time. But again, is that fun? It's fun to be a god wizard and do all that stuff, but it's not thematic. And I don't see playing that kind of wizard that does a lot as fun. And in the class system, you're going to see you can't play that invisible wizard that's flinging perfect fire, perfectly scaled fireballs without investing other things into it. You, at the very least, will never be able to play that invisible fireball flinging wizard that also has armor buffs from the Abjuration School. The way I nerfed casters is by limiting their access to spells knowable, like it's by school. But I'm going to get into that in the class thing. Short, taking away Constitution allows for a wider range of characters to be played in a game where combat is important. Which role-playing games, I like combat. As a game master, I love running combat scenarios. Players like playing combat scenarios. And low hit point characters just can't survive unless they're dripping with buffs. And at that point, it's just, you're not going to get hit. You're not going to get targeted. And it's just not fun. So thematic wizards taking viable damage, they're going to be able to walk away. And fighters are still getting more hit points by a little bit. It's just less of an impact. Less. And the bottom line is the wizard's going to walk away at any level from an average damage attack and not be put under in one hit. Or a frail elven archer, scholarly guy with a crossbow or a gun. So that's my justification. That's why Con had to go for my group. And if you disagree with me, that's cool. I'd love to hear your reasons why you think Con is necessary for building thematic characters. Please put them in the comments. And I'd love to address it in another video. Because it's a topic that's worth debating, for sure. But, again, for the sake of allowing a wide range of thematic, interesting, sensible characters that actually make sense, I opted to take it out. And it works good. I mean, you can have your elven wizard that has decent hit points that's not getting one-shotted and doesn't have to rely on absurd, buffs that just make him untouchable to survive. You don't need that, and frankly, it's not fun for the fighters at that point because you're flying around, you're flying around, you're invisible, you're shooting fireballs that do, scale perfectly at a level that can be maximized. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's totally outclasses the fighter in every way, shape, or form. Any of the fighter characters. Okay, going down. Okay, so next I have the average damage at level 1 through 20. Now, this does not include criticals, this table. I could have more effort factored them in. But when criticals happen, characters are going to get dropped. That's the nature of the game. Now, I recommend, rather than rolling a d20, roll 2 d10s, because it makes criticals less common. The way statistics works, you're going to go towards more even numbers, 10-ish, and that. So in my group, when I play, we run 2d10 instead of d20. And it's good because crits are rarer and feel more special. And a perfect 2d10 0-0 crit, that's a auto crit. You don't have to confirm it because it's so rare. Anything less than that, but again, that's just a little side note, not the meat and potatoes of the video. All right, so I calculated the damage based on level and HP based on roughly using the system I described, 1 per level plus the gold piece value per level, and 1 through 20. And then we have the two-handed weapon, rapid shot, precise shot, and spell damage values. Now, I just picked these because it was a rough sampling of what I did. And swashbuckling and two-weapon fighting are similar. I mean, rapid shot and two-weapon fighting are similar. Precise shot and swashbuckling, they're similar damage values. I'll explain them further, but again. And spell damage with the scaling. Now, spell damage is big. I changed how spells scale. It's not 1d6 per level. It's 1d12 plus 1d6 per every other level, so if that makes sense. but more into that in another video. But that's the average damage, 1 through 20, before you factor in class stuff for damage. This is just your combat feat, what you're going to be able to do with it. No more power attack, no more deadly aim, none of that. This is the combat feat for all 6 major thematic ways of fighting. Does this much damage on average, plus any class stuff you got going on, which is fine. And class stuff also gets cut in half, like Ranger's favorite enemy, bonuses to damage. Any class modifiers that affect damage besides the Barbarian strength increase. Just because that one makes sense and it's not like a linear scaling like the Paladin one. But any of those besides the Barbarian's rage get cut in half. Like the Ranger's favorite enemy and the Paladin smite. Stuff like that cut in half. Because health is reduced. Oh, sneak attack too. And that's a 1d6 at level 1, 5, 9, skipping odd levels in between those. You know, because you have a lot less health at higher levels. You cut it in half. All right, so, and I also have the most important numbers are the average damage expressed as a percentage of full health. So taking the HP full, dividing average damage, just an average of the 3 columns to the left, which, and you can see they're similar. Look through. They do similar throughout. If they're, it's not perfect. I mean, that's just flat out wrong. I'll fix that. But they're roughly the same. And it expresses that as, all right, when they deliver their damage, that damage is this much of the average health for a full BAB, half BAB, 3/4 BAB, and half. And as you can see, none of them are just one. Like power attack, core power attack out of a level 1 character is 1.5-ish. I mean, it's just absurd. But these are below 1, a little over half, which is 2 shots to kill. And it's not so far to half that it's 2 shots, and usually they'll be put under. It's on average, they're not going to get put under their con maximum like truly dead. They're just going to go unconscious. I mean, that can happen on the second hit, but it's rare. And that's, I mean, how it should be. Hit me once. I mean, a character should be able to walk away from a hit staggered, or if it's a rapid shot, not staggered. But yeah, so you get the point. And here's a chart showing that, you know, just how it raises. And I don't know why the 70, it's a little raised over it, but it gets the point that, you know, the average damage is, or the damage for all 3 types scales roughly the same, and they're apart. They're well within that little bit over 50% area. Now, sword and board fighting obviously isn't going to be this high but shields block 20% of damage that covers that 20% difference. So that's why it's okay and why that's still viable. So, all right, in summary, I'm trying to justify why I think the smartest thing to do to make diverse thematic characters is to take away Constitution and make hit points start with a base and scale in a linear fashion after that high base. So it's top heavy. It's level 1 heavy. And then they gradually scale up from there, and it's backed by the percentages of full health shown in the table. And you could say, what about flaming swords? Well, again, you're going to have defensive bonuses from your gold piece allotment. Those are to buy defensive stats mostly. I mean, they can buy ability scores with that gold piece per level thing I was talking about, but mostly it's for defense and hit points. And I'm going to make another video fully explaining that, but I mean, that's the hit points, so you see how they're getting hit points with that. And also they're going to find defensive items with their gold too. So magic items versus, magic items, offensive magic items should have an equal effect, should be neutralized by defense magic items that character's wearing, if that makes sense. Well, not in core. In core, melee damage scaled with level, AC scaled with magic item loot per level. So that's why the half I give them is pretty much strictly for defense, although they can do ability scores like strength. But AC, hit points, ability scores are the only 3 things I really let them spend that allotment, that half allotment they get for the boring stat increases. That's my recommendation, because the core system relied on that to scale AC. The AC just didn't scale. Interesting, strange, but that's a fact. All right, so thanks for watching. If you disagree or think that con's really important, or that you see, why my math is wrong or what I'm doing is crazy, I'd love to hear why. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Otherwise, stay tuned. I'm going to talk about the other, how the combat feats of looting to work, how much damage they actually deal, what I do with spellcasters, and all that is sure to come soon. So thanks for watching, and have a great one.